as the quiz unfolds. So today I want to talk to you about welfare and social justice. And to begin, of course, we'll have a discussion, so I'm curious what you think welfare is.
Welfare is money, federal money from the government to support a person or family. I'll use the example of SNAP or Section 8.
Which are, just in case people don't know that.
SNAP is food benefits or EBT, and Section 8 is housing allowance.
Okay.
Or rent.
How about Title IX? I have sports athletes in here. You know what Title IX is? Federal government funds female sports the way we fund male athlete sports. A lot of money's put into it. What else is welfare? By the way, when you say federal money, the government doesn't have any money.
Our money.
Our money, yeah. Taxes. What else would welfare be? Really? It's one of the entitlements that everybody wants to cut. It turns out to be our taxes. Our money. Go ahead.
Welfare's like the people who have jobs and all that stuff, went to school, they work hard, take like a big chunk out of their paycheck and goes to people who work less hard or have a disability and can't really work that hard to begin with.
Okay.
All the money goes to them.
Okay, so did you hear that? From hardworking people, taxes, and it goes to people who either aren't working or don't work that hard. And all of the money goes to them. Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Kind of what she said a little bit, I guess.
Okay. How many of you think it goes to the lazy people who do nothing? That's what we've been told. Right. So would it surprise you to know that tax dollars, go ahead.
Welfare also goes to corporations.
Absolutely goes to corporations. We'll get into how we know that in a bit. What we do know is that about 4.5% of the people in this country that get welfare don't do anything for it, which means 95.5% of the people who work for a living also get assistance from the government, and that's what welfare is. So any of you get FAFSA money? According to the definition we'll explore, the legal definition, you get welfare. Any pregnant people get WIC, women infant care, assistance from the government, low-income housing, corporate subsidies, absolutely, corporate subsidies, low interest, no interest loans. Yeah, but more than that, after Katrina, there were like, I don't know, maybe almost 50, 60 rigs out in the Gulf got blown out. We gave them no interest loans to rebuild them. You want to drive your car, you need gas, and they said, fine, you want us to rebuild them, give us some assistance. No interest or very low interest loans, absolutely. So welfare then, in its broadest definition, is assistance from the government to assist you in producing wealth so the government gets more tax money. It's a redistribution of wealth. When it's politicized, I'm not going to do any politics, I'll identify the politics, but when it's not politicized, it's simply redistributing wealth through taxation to different segments of society. The myth is only the lazy poor people get it, and there are a small percentage of people who do that. But if you get government assistance for housing loans, for school loans, for any other kind of loans, any other kind of assistance, the government does not have a product to sell to make money to give to you, so they take money from us in the form of taxation. They take that money and they redistribute it. It turns out that corporations get 50% more than people do. Even though the Supreme Court says that corporations are people, we all know that that's not true. So people get this much, corporations get 50% more. And the government does that because they think it enhances life. The utilitarian principle, the greatest happiness for the greatest number.
I believe they're making it harder. At least the government wants to make it harder, or at least want the government to make it harder for somebody, let's say, on Section 8. Okay, every 6 months you got to do a drug test, or you got to prove that you're looking for a job, or something like that, to help prevent that very small percentage from taking advantage of the system.
Correct, and you take drug tests as well. As it turns out that people who work for corporations and get drug tested have a higher rate of failure than people who don't. Just statistics that never get published and never talked about. Because if you have a bad guy, you can be angry at the bad guy. And then you're angry at them because they're taking your money and they're not doing anything for it. And then you're diverted from understanding the full picture and what it's really used for. And we can justify being upset with some of the entities that get the money and some of them that don't. For example, when General Eisenhower, the general in Eastern and Western Europe during World War II, after the war, when he came back, he was elected president, and he, when he was over in Germany, was mesmerized by the Autobahn. Hitler built the Autobahn. In fact, when Hitler first built the Autobahn, it was east and west. And it's 24 inches of concrete, I think, because it had to handle 50-ton bombers that were coming back from Europe, from Russia, and coming back from England. And if they didn't have enough gas, they needed runways, so they had runways right across Germany. Eisenhower was very impressed with that, and when he came back here as elected president, he began the interstate highway system that we all drive in. So we go 10 all the way up to 90, and then 95 all the way, I think it's 1 in California, or maybe 5 in California. Well, he quickly realized that they're useless if you can't use them. Okay? You have to be able to drive on them, and if you have to drive on them to go across country, you're going to need to fill up and fill up and fill up and fill up and fill up. So we got together with the oil companies and we said, I'll tell you what, for every barrel of oil you take out of U.S. soil, we'll give you a $40 subsidy, and you can build gas stations so you can sell your product to Americans and they can go across the country. It was a great sweetheart deal. And we finished the project somewhere, I think, in the mid-70s. And we're still giving them subsidies today. If you listen to the news, they'll tell you it's about $8 billion a year of your money. And we already have the product that we paid for, but we continue to pay for it. It's like tolls on roads. Do we still need them or not? Because they tax you on gas, they tax you on tolls. Trucking and all those industries also pay a fee for that. So, but that's where you need to get involved once you understand what's really going on. If you don't understand what's really going on, then it's hard to get involved. Then we get caught up in these fantasies that we're told, and we get wrong information. It's hard to put that into effect if you're fighting a straw person. You're really not going after the real issue. So welfare is simply this, and I'll give you the definition when we come up with the notice. It's a transfer of money acquired by the government through taxation from one segment of society to another. It's across the board. Corporations as well as individuals, and there's a small group that doesn't do very much for it. But for the most part, most of us are working. If you do your tax, I used to be a tax professional for H&R Block. If you work hard, we used to give you something, tax time. If you made enough money but not enough money and not too little money, we give you something called an earned income credit, an EIC credit. And that was a generous return from the government to help the hardworking poor. So if you fit the minimum and you didn't exceed the maximum, we would give you, I probably shouldn't say this, I'm being recorded. I had a fellow come in one day with his wife and they gave me a W-2 form that had been laundered, literally through the laundry. And so they had to ink in what it was. And I said, I can't do this, I'll go to jail. I need a real W-2, go back to your employer, they can make you another one. He got really upset with me. And I said, besides, I said, this is only for like $3,000 and the government will ask me what kind of, we call it due diligence. How would somebody and a family of 4 live on $3,000 a year? I said, they're not stupid, and I'm not going to jail along with you for frauding the government. I said, however, if you happen to get paid under the table, or you got paid by check, personal check, and you'd like to declare that income, the government loves honesty, and they will tax you a little bit. But you will also possibly qualify for an earned income credit, so maybe you pay $3,000 in taxes, you might get $1,500 back. So we call it lower your liability, or what you owe in taxes. He said, I'll be back in an hour. He went home, and sure enough, he'd worked for his brother, and his brother gave him some checks. And we added it up, and he had to pay a little in taxes, but he also ended up qualifying for an earned income credit. Earned income credit is the government giving you a return on your work, even though you haven't labored for it. You labored for what you earned for your income, but now we're going to give you an additional amount of money. Technically qualifies as welfare. So once we understand what welfare means, we can understand what's going on. Everybody understand me? So you end up getting a little bit back for your taxes. If you listen to the politics, some states will say, well, we get 125% back for the taxes we send to Washington. Other states maybe get 45% back. So they're giving more into the pool than they're getting back. Some states get more out of the pool than they're giving into the pool. It's a distribution of wealth, people. You'll hear that phrase politically all the time. Everybody benefits from it in one way or another if you pay taxes. And if you don't either, I mean, low-income housing, things like that. What do you call them, bridge cards now when you get food stamps? SNAP, is that what you call it? They used to give us stamps, literally. You go into the store and you give someone, and then you get something back for it. So
now the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
it's a nice, snappy name to it.
Because they don't want to have the connotation, there's a bad connotation or a bad moniker behind EBT.
I hear you. Cool. So do we have a general understanding now? And then I'll give you the definitions. It'll come up in the notes.
Because people would use EBT to essentially buy junk. Because you can go into somewhere like 7-Eleven and buy whatever the hell you